Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, July 29th, 2018. Did Y&R give us a good goodbye to Hilary? That's our poll question of the week. YRChat.com if you want to weigh in on that. All things being equal, do you feel that Y&R did a good job in saying goodbye to this character on behalf of the fans? Here's a thought from me, maybe a little bit of an alternative idea. Let's say that you're a soap opera actor or actress and the job has been great, but it's come to an end, as most acting jobs do. Most acting jobs do not last 5 years or 10 years or decades the way they do on soap operas. So let's say you're an actor or an actress, the job has come to an end. I would think that killing off your character has got to be one of the highest compliments that one can possibly receive. I'm putting myself in Michelle Morgan's shoes right now, and I can only imagine that if I wasn't able to continue on with the show for whatever reason, I don't see any evidence to suggest that Y&R said, we hate you and we want to get rid of you and we're just gonna, for no reason, renew your contract. I'm sure there were a lot of factors that went into her decision to not continue on with the show. I can only imagine if I was her, if the writers told me that they were gonna then kill off my character that I originated, there would be a part of me that would be sad, of course, but then I think I would jump on board and be like, yeah, let's kill me. I mean, why not? Let's think about that. You get to be part of a very memorable death storyline that is going to shock the fans, and if it's done right, it's probably going to garner a whole lot of support for your career. Michelle Morgan is going to be fine. She's going to have a lot of people that are going to follow her into whatever she does next in her career, or maybe she just wants to focus on being a mom right now. Who knows? But what a great send-off, and what a way to get some interest in you professionally. And on top of it, you don't have to watch another actress come on in and take over your role. You don't have to sit at home watching Y&R, watching somebody else try to fill your shoes. I would think that would feel really good. Like, yeah, you know, that was my character from beginning to end, and I put her in the ground, damn it. I'm the one that played out the death role. And I mean, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity right there, to be able to originate a character and then see her through from inception to death. I mean, yes, it's morbid, but it's also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How many actors or actresses would have that opportunity? I can only imagine that Michelle felt grateful for such an amazing experience. I mean, the death of Hilary gave her most definitely an opportunity to come full circle, saying goodbye to the character, saying goodbye to the job, saying, you know, putting a bookend on the experience, saying goodbye to all of her co-workers. I mean, we're coming off of a 5-day long Goodbye Hilary death parade. She was front and center on our screens for Monday through Friday. It was incredible. I can only imagine that I would feel very satisfied with that ending in a way. I mean, setting aside everything even that has anything to do with Devon and the love story of Heaven, I think that this particular choice to kill the character, while emotionally it hurts and it's hard, I think this setting gave the actress the opportunity to say goodbye in a really fitting way, because if you think about it, Hilary had relationships with a lot of people in Genoa City that she was able to resolve throughout the course of the week. Hilary is lying in her hospital bed as one by one, all of the people that she's interacted with come into her room and they have a goodbye with her, even if they don't know and she doesn't know that it actually is a goodbye. One of the people I was happy to see have a moment with Hilary was Jack. Jack had a very good relationship with her. He was one of the few people in town who actually remained friendly with Hilary, even when the rest of the town hated her, when she was the pariah. So I was glad to see him come in and have a chance to speak with her. I was glad to see a resolution on Hilary's relationship with Mariah. Let's face it, that's been a rocky one. Hilary humiliated Mariah on national TV, tripping her, and their relationship evolved to such a point that Mariah actually ended up becoming a friend and having respect for Hilary. Mariah decided, or she had to have a chance to not only say goodbye to Hilary, but she's also going to have to pick up and carry the torch of the Hilary Hour show, which I think is a little bit of a shame because frankly, I wish we could have kept Hilary and gotten rid of the Hilary Hour, or if we had to get rid of Hilary, I wish we could have ditched both. I would be fine to never see the Hilary Hour ever again, to let that stupid set and the Jeezy Buzz logo die with her, but that's not the case. Mariah is going to carry on the torch, and as soon as word breaks that Hilary's been in this accident, Mariah is right there telling Hilary's fans. In a way, we as the audience are kind of Hilary's bees, and Mariah is giving this incredible on-air speech to them, to us, updating everyone about Hilary's condition and really being very affected over what's happening to her friend. Mariah was lavishing praise on Hilary. She is talking openly about Hilary's strength and her style, and Hilary is sitting in her hospital room listening to this speech that Mariah is giving, which is demonstrating how far their relationship actually has come. I loved the moment, by the way, where Hilary's watching Mariah give that incredible speech. She's obviously touched by it, but she also doesn't really want to let on how touched by it she is. So she just looks over at Devon, and in this very characteristically blunt way that Hilary always has, she says, yeah, it was a little schmaltzy. The goodbye that was probably second only to Devon, I think, was Lily. Lily has a lot of layers to her goodbye. That is a very complicated relationship right up to the very end. And Lily, at the point where she is coming to have a private chat with Hilary, realizes that Hilary is dying. And although Lily doesn't know at this point, still doesn't know that she's ran the red light and that she was very much responsible for Hilary's condition right now, Lily does know that she at least contributed to the accident by getting into the argument with Hilary. So Lily's sitting at Hilary's bedside, talking to her, as if 5 long years of feud had just been washed away in an instant. It was a little painful because we know as the audience that Lily is guilty, even though she doesn't know, and Hilary doesn't know. And the two women are talking, and Hilary has become so selfless in the wake of the accident. Hilary doesn't blame Lily. You would almost expect her to. You would expect the argument to continue, but Hilary has instead been very humbled by it. So she's blaming herself more than anyone else. She thinks that she could have somehow prevented the accident. I don't know how, but Hilary is really much more concerned that everyone else who was in the car is okay, that Lily's okay, that Charlie's okay. I think that is a nice evolution of her character. It's too bad we had to wait to this moment to actually get there, but I think because Lily is one of the few people who actually realized that she was saying goodbye, those scenes were really powerful and really apologetic. Lily was being really complimentary toward Hilary, saying that Hilary is someone who deep down she really admires. And I think it's far too bad that Lily couldn't have said that before now. I never really got the sense that Lily was secretly admiring Hilary. I really genuinely truly got the sense that Lily would be happy if Hilary would have just jumped off a cliff, but I think Lily is so overwhelmed by her own guilt that all of a sudden it's kind of, oh yeah, I did definitely admire you. But I guess that maybe was meant to be a little bit of a reminder to us as the audience to not leave things unsaid. Maybe Lily was thinking that she wished she could be kind of sort of like Hilary, because they are very different personality types. Hilary's very assertive, whereas Lily is a little bit more passive, and maybe Lily did kind of wish she could be more like Hilary, but she never said it. I think that Lily and Hilary having more of a sisterhood could have really changed the whole dynamic of the Winters family. Even Lily herself said something to the effect of, I should and could have been teaching you what I've learned all along about raising kids. I mean, here in the car during, just before the accident, Lily is screaming at Hilary, saying, I would hate, you don't deserve to be mother. She was somehow criticizing, I don't remember her exact words, but criticizing Hilary's ability to be a mom and saying she would feel sorry for the kid. And here now in the hospital, in the humbled moment, Lily's saying, I really should have been just trying to teach you how to raise kids and help you instead of constantly criticizing you. I think that these are two women who would have been much, much better served to help each other rather than to continue to hurt each other. Even though I imagine most of the audience did enjoy the drama as it was going on throughout the course of their relationship. Probably the most bittersweet moment, though, was when Lily grabbed Hilary's hand and she was just holding it, and they agreed to be friends. They said, let's just from here on out just be friends. Only Lily knows that there is no here on out. There is no moving forward. Lily knows that Hilary is dying, and she's saying let's be friends from now on, and Hilary believes it. Hilary doesn't know at this point. She believes that maybe they will have a future after this. I mean, Hilary was just smiling and looking happy and saying, let's put it all behind us. I'm just excited that we actually can be friends moving forward. And that was so tragic, just absolutely tragic. I think that Hilary has always had trouble making friends, and that's probably something that she's always really wanted, just acceptance and friendship from Lily, and she never really got it until it was kind of too late. That was heartbreaking. It also what was heartbreaking as Nate told Devon that Hilary's not going to make it. And also in doing that, Nate had a sit-down talk with Devon and reminded the audience, reminded me, that Nate has been in this exact same situation when his fiance died, and now that puts into a little bit more context for me why Nate was insistent on taking over Hilary's case, why he really wanted to become her doctor. I think that Nate was hoping that he would be able to stop the cycle from repeating in a way. Like, he's been through this, and he would like to be able to save someone else from having to go through this. But there was no saving Hilary. There was no amount of doctoring short of a miracle that was going to save Hilary. It was a foregone conclusion, maybe a 1% sliver of a chance. So Nate sits down with Devon, and since he's not really able to physically do anything to help Hilary, he tries to talk to Devon and offers him a little bit of wisdom, saying, what you need to do right now is not waste your energy trying to find a solution. You just need to make the most of the time that you have. You need to make every moment count. You need to get into that room with Hilary. You need to talk to her. You need to laugh with her. You need to cry with her. And you need to come to peace with this together with her. Devon asks Nate not to share the news of Hilary's condition with her. Just don't tell her that she's dying. And I can understand that to an extent, because if there's any chance that Hilary can fight, why not let her try? And it also left a little hanging little piece of hope for the audience. Like, you never know, there could be a miracle. Miracles happen. So I wasn't altogether turned off by the idea that Hilary didn't know and that it gave her a chance to fight. Hilary has been fighting for her entire life. As we have learned from her backstory, this is someone who has had a lot of challenges that needed to be overcome from her mother and her childhood, all the way up to and including everything with Devon. I think that Hilary has had to fight for love. She's had to fight for respect. She's had to fight for Devon. And she tells him that she understands if he wants to leave her, if he needs to leave her now. She's lying in a hospital bed and she says, I lost the baby, and I know that the baby is what bonded us together, and if you need to go now, I completely understand that. It's almost as if Hilary at that point still didn't completely trust in the fact that they had fallen back in love. I think because of the fact that the baby is what initially brought them back together, I think she was afraid and trying to prepare herself for the possibility that Devon was going to leave her. But he says, no, I'm not going to leave you. It's just the opposite. I want to be with you forever. And he means it. He would be with her forever if he could. And as soon as Devon gets a chance, he slips out of that hospital and he goes out to buy the most beautiful engagement ring that he could find, so that he can give this most beautiful engagement ring to his most beautiful woman. I'm sure he said, give me the biggest, most sparkly, most grand ring that you have, and yet it will still pale in comparison to my beauty. He brings in his ring to the love of his life. He proposes to her. She is obviously overwhelmed. She accepts his proposal. They put the ring on the finger and prepare to be married right there in the hospital. It was so extra sweet, I think, because Hilary is someone who you would imagine would want a huge, lavish fairy tale wedding with all of the attention on her. She would soak in the opportunity to be the center of everyone's attention. But in these moments with Devon, she was completely content to have a humble hospital wedding, because I think having this experience and being in the hospital at all has made her realize that the only thing that matters is being with him. Devon sends a lovely invitation to everyone in the family, and Hilary asks Phyllis to be her maid of honor for the ceremony. And Phyllis steps out into the waiting room and has a private moment with Devon, asking him, why are we having a hospital wedding here? What's the rush? And Devon is forced to confide in Phyllis that Hilary doesn't have much time left. Immediately, Phyllis wanted to tell her. She says, "You have no right to keep this information from her. I'm going to go tell her right now." But Devon stops Phyllis and tells her, "Please don't. Telling Hilary that she's dying just means stealing her very last moments of happiness, and I don't want to do that to her. Do you want to do that to her?" So Phyllis chooses to keep it quiet, but little by little, Hilary is starting to put together the pieces on her own. She notices that every time she asks about her condition or says something about the future, people are scurrying around, trying to change the subject, and every question she has that's legitimate about her medical condition, it's all kind of veiled. She's not getting a straight answer from anyone. So she wants to ask someone who she knows will be honest with her, and that's Phyllis. Oh, one of the most heartbreaking moments, I think, of the week was when Phyllis had to break the news to Hilary. I mean, I really cried during that scene because it just felt like agony, knowing that Phyllis had to work up the nerve to tell someone that they're dying. I mean, Phyllis was in a position that she really shouldn't have been in. And she didn't want to lie to her friend, but she didn't want to steal away that happiness. And I felt absolute agony for Phyllis having to find the right way to tell Hilary. I felt absolute agony for Hilary having to hear it. And I mean, I think actually it was kind of good though that Phyllis was there, because Phyllis is the kind of friend that's gonna pump you up and that is going to encourage you to fight, and that's what she did. She says, you are gonna get out of here. You have to just keep trying. And I think that's what Hilary needed to hear in that moment. She vows to make the most out of every damn moment that she has left, and she did. She fought through the night. She fought to have a bridal shower with her girls, and she fought through every breath of that ceremony, even though it wasn't easy for her. And she did it all, I think, because of her love for Devon. I think that's what was bringing her forward, that was propelling her forward. I mean, one thing that was occurring to me about Hilary during the actual wedding ceremony, as she's there with Devon, but she's also surrounded by a lot of people in that room who didn't care for her, who were antagonistic toward her, and who she antagonized. Again, we gotta be real. Hilary got as good as she gave throughout her lifetime, but she's there in a very weakened condition in this hospital room. She's there with a lot of people who didn't treat her so nicely in her lifetime. But the one thing that I think never really changed or wavered about Hilary was her love for Devon. I mean, she flip-flopped on a lot of people, but she really, I think, did stay consistent in wanting him. And when she breathlessly said her vows, saying the words, "In sickness and in health, till death do us part," she meant it. She meant it. Till death do us part. Oh. I think Kane said it best, because he had a line talking to Lily where he was kind of commenting on the wedding and the purpose of the wedding, and he said something about how Hilary and Devon both knew that they were not going to have happily ever after. So it was almost as if they were just getting caught up in the fantasy, so that they could make a memory for Devon. Later that night, their wedding night, as they were laying side by side in her hospital bed, Hilary finally admits to Devon that she knows there isn't much time. It was almost silent in the air between them, but she knew it, she acknowledged it, and they had just finished and have been kind of escaping into the fantasy that there was more time. The fantasy that as soon as she gets out of the hospital, they're going to go on a honeymoon around the world, and that as the years go on, they're going to make another Devon baby, and that they are going to have a beautiful future together. But Hilary and Devon in the audience at this point knows that there is not a future. It is just a fantasy. And so there are some realities that have to be addressed. So Hilary tells Devon that she knows she's dying, and she wants a big service with lots of hats. She wants it to be like a royal wedding. I just loved that even in her final hours, in that moment, Hilary still had enough of her Hilary-ness to ask for a big celebration of life. But then she also, once again, turned very selfless and immediately followed it up by having, I think, the grace and the kindness to tell Devon that it's okay to let her go when she's gone. She gives him permission to be happy in the future without her. That was probably the second most hardest moment for me. Just like having the presence of mind to acknowledge that you're going to be gone and to love that other person so much that you don't want to hold them back from whatever more happiness they're able to grab in the future, because it's so fleeting. She tells him that someday in the future he is going to fall in love again, and he is going to have a family again, and she knows that he loves her, and so she wants him to be happy. So, you know, she gives him the gift of release. And then we had this beautiful sequence of flashbacks. Oh, that was so cool. I wish I could have grabbed like screen captures of all of them, because it was a really nice flashback sequence of, I mean, just really spanning the life of their relationships, all of its ups and downs, and the joy, the laughter, the love, and the romance. Hilary Curtis Hamilton died shortly after that, in Devon's arms on her hospital bed, fully embraced by love. Ugh. Part of me, I think, was glad or relieved that her suffering was over and that she went peacefully and happily, and then maybe I could start to move on too, because let me tell you, I know you were feeling me. We were mourning this week. We were all collectively in mourning all week. I'm not even kidding you. It was hard. I felt like I was stuck in a sticky cloud of sadness all week. And part of me just was dreading watching Y&R a little bit, because I knew it was gonna hurt. And I'm like, I'm putting myself through this electively. I feel like I'm losing someone I know, and I'm going through this. I am going through this when I don't have to. So I'm sure it was very hard on some of you too. It was a rough week, and next week's not going to be a whole lot easier. Next week, Hilary will be mourned, and she will be sent to the soap opera graveyard where so many of our favorites and not so favorites lie. And what is coming next will not be peaceful. It will not be pretty. Next week, we are going to be left to deal with the consequences and the aftermath that is surely coming. Lily gets a phone call from the police department and is interviewed by an officer. Lily tells the officer her version of the truth, which is the truck driver came out of nowhere, it all happened so fast, end of story. But we all know that that's not the end of story. We all know that that's not the real truth. Charlie and Kane know that that's not the real truth. And this week, we also found out that Shauna knows it's not the real truth. Shauna was standing on the sidewalk, saw the entire accident happen, saw Lily run the red light. Oh, so all of that is going to be going on into the weeks coming. And it's going, I feel that it's going to have to be my job to rein in and pull back the Lily fan hate just a little bit from here on out. It's been rough because I've been hearing it for 2 weeks now. A lot of Lily hate. And I think that we can love Hilary. I love Hilary, but I think we can learn to forgive Lily too. I think that Hilary probably, if she would have known, I think she probably would have ultimately forgiven Lily. It was clear from their scene together that they were moving in that direction. And I think that Devon eventually will forgive Lily too. Because let me be really, really crystal clear. Did Lily make a horrific mistake? Yes. Does Lily deserve to be punished for her actions? Absolutely. But just thinking about your own life, haven't you ever made a bad mistake? Ever? Have you made a mistake? Like, can you recall a moment in your life where you made a bad decision and in retrospect you think back on that decision and you think, damn, I'm kind of lucky that that didn't get me hurt or that I didn't hurt someone else. I guess it's just that I know that I'm capable of lapses in judgment. And I've been very lucky that none of my lapses of good judgment have resulted in anything horrific like that. But I mean, I feel that if I were standing in Lily's shoes, I don't know about you, but there would be no punishment greater than the punishment that I would be giving to myself. So I can't help but feel empathy for Lily because I know how much it must, how horrible it would be to feel like you can't even look at yourself in the mirror. There's nothing anybody could say to me from the outside that would make me feel worse than the way I would feel about myself. I just don't think there's anything worse than that. Not being able to stand yourself 24 hours a day while you've got other people coming at you. So I just think I'm gonna do my best maybe to help some of the Hilary fans cross over into forgiveness of Lily, because you just can't hold on to the hate forever and still enjoy the show. And also, let's just keep this all in a little bit of perspective here and remember, at the end of the day, Lily did not kill Hilary. Mal Young killed Hilary. Just keep that in mind too. Here, I thought we were gearing up for a Mariah Tessa full-on relationship, and instead it seems like Mal Young is finding a way to sweep away all of the last of the remaining characters that were created in 2017 under the old regime. So Tessa forces Mariah to listen to the truth about the hug that she saw on the rooftop deck. Tessa is not seeing another woman. Tessa has tracked down a sex worker who knows where her sister Crystal is, and Tessa now has to leave town to go be with Crystal. There is simply no other way. Tessa has to leave town. This feels like a cheap out to me. Like, go ahead and satisfy the Mariah and Tessa fans by giving them a week worth of happiness seeing this couple together. But then just get rid of Tessa so that we don't have to deal with the unhappy fans long term. I think this approach not only cheapens the relationship between Mariah and Tessa that Y&R took the time to build, but it also cheapens their own story that came before. It's exactly the same way that I felt about the capers that went on around JT's death. It cheapened the abuse storyline with Victoria. How can fans of Mariah and Tessa especially believe that Tessa ever really cared for Mariah if she was willing to break her heart twice? It doesn't make sense to me. Tessa had this sister search going on in the works for some time now. She was getting those XZ text messages around the 4th of July. So why would Tessa initiate a relationship with Mariah right now at long last just to turn around and leave? Well, Tessa had literally just proven herself worthy of Mariah's heart, and then she turns around and is careless with it. It doesn't leave a very good taste in my mouth where Tessa's concerned. Mariah, on the other hand, is perfectly willing to fight for her relationship. Mariah is perfectly willing to do anything she can do to keep Tessa, including deciding to just up and leave town, up and leave Genoa City. She packs her bags and says, fine, if you gotta go, Tessa, then I'm gonna go with you. She's willing to abandon her entire life, her entire career, everything that Mariah personally has worked for. She's willing to throw it right out the window to go be with Tessa, which I think says a lot about Mariah. It says a lot more, it says a lot about them both, really. I don't know. Mariah, of course, thinks this is the love of her life. I think she just wants to do anything and everything she can to snatch this little moment of happiness, especially in the wake of everything that's going on with Tessa. But there are other types of love that are just as important, if not more, than romantic love. Slowly, Mariah starts to realize how much of a sacrifice this is actually going to be if she leaves town. Tessa's doing what Tessa has to do to go be with her family, but Mariah has a family too. She has Sharon and Faith and Christian and even Nick. Mariah has her bags packed. She has said goodbye to the people in her life who don't even know she's saying goodbye. She's going to sneak out the door with her bags into the night and just not come back because she can't say anything to them. It's going to put them in danger. Tessa's sisters, it's all so dangerous. That's why it has to be all or nothing. She meets with Tessa, who's in the car, like ready to drive away into the night to go find her sister, and Mariah just opens up the car door, sits inside of the car, and begins to tell Tessa that she just can't go. She just can't do it. Mariah suggests, well, why don't we text message with each other? Right, but oh no, Tessa says it's too dangerous, okay? It has got to be all or nothing, of course. So that means that this is goodbye. It's just goodbye. Last week it was hello, and this week it's goodbye. I guess as a token, hands over to Tessa the journal that almost came between them, tells her to read it, take it. I mean, it's very sweet to give her of herself. Mariah is giving of herself to Tessa in giving her the journal, because more importantly, what Mariah is giving Tessa is the truth about her feelings and all you know, all along, and being open and honest and giving of herself. Mariah looks at Tessa and says to her, I love you. I love you. That should have been a romantic swell of a moment. I've never heard Mariah say that to her before. I think that's the first time. There should have been a big music swell and a kiss or something, but Mariah says I love you, and Tessa just skipped over it real quickly, just saying, I know, but you need to find someone else you can open your heart up to. Wait a minute, back up. Mariah says I love you, and you say I know. Months of this supposed neon sign that's over both of your heads that everyone else can see, saying that there's more going on in your relationship, more going on here, and Mariah finally works up the nerve to say I love you, and Tessa's response is I know. At that point, I had Sharon's words echoing in my ears when she had that very last meeting with Tessa at the coffee house, and Sharon put her on blast a little bit, saying, all those months ago when you and Mariah were first kind of talking, Mariah was very clear about her feelings for you, and you led her to believe that it was all one-sided. You told her that you didn't feel the same way about her that she felt for you, and now it seems like you're acknowledging that you did feel that way all along. Well, Tessa explains it away, saying just, oh yeah, I lied about all that. I was just lying. But I was lying about not having feelings for Mariah. But now I wonder if there's not some truth to it or something. Not that Tessa doesn't love Mariah, but that maybe Mariah is capable of love on a level that Tessa is not yet. Like, if Tessa knew that this was goodbye, then why couldn't she have at least returned the sentiment? Why couldn't she have said I love you too? Why? I mean, it just feels like Tessa is unable to give. I mean, it's not enough just to love someone. You have to show them. And I don't know, maybe Tessa would have gotten there eventually, but you also have to be with that person like at the right point in time to make love work. Like it's that sweet spot that makes a relationship functional. It's love plus timing equals happiness. And I guess Mariah and Tessa never had both of those things. It kind of sucks because I don't think it's Tessa's fault as much as it just is the writing. It just feels like, again, it's this 180 sweeping shift in all of the storylines on the show, and they just decided to send Tessa off. But don't try to sell it to me as love then. I just would have rather seen Tessa flat out screw Mariah over and leave. I don't know why try to make us believe that it's love this week, and then next week it's revealed that Tessa's just running away. And then the next week, we have a preview. We saw in our little previews of next week's show that Mariah is just finishing up with a tearful broadcast for the Hilary R, presumably announcing Hilary's death to the fans. And she looks over and she sees Tessa's smiling face standing there. I don't think it was Tessa. I'm gonna guess that was a dream or a hallucination or something, because I seriously doubt that Tessa left town last night in the middle of the night And then turned around and came back to Genoa City the next day like, never mind. Me and my sister are back. It's all good now. It's all good. No, that doesn't make sense to me. I think Mariah was seeing things. I think Mariah's gonna need something to help her through, and maybe she's going to continue to see some specter of Tessa in order to allow her to pull some strength from somewhere, because poor Mariah has got a really hard road ahead of her. She's mourning two people at once. Last week's poll question: how are you feeling about Nick Newman? It was a very, very close vote. 52% of you said no, Nick. 48% of you were like, go, Nick. So can you believe that? 52% are leaning toward not liking this new version of Nick, while 48% are loving it. That is really close. I voted no, Nick, because I was very mad at him. I'm still very mad at him for sleeping with Phyllis. It just came out of the blue. It just came out of the blue. Nick and Phyllis wake up in the morning after their wild monkey sex session all night, and in the sober cold light of day they both realized pretty quickly that this was not a good idea, and Nick decides he should be fighting for his relationship with Sharon, while Phyllis decides she wants to forgive Billy and ask him to move back in. Why couldn't they have had this realization 12 hours ago? I liked everything about this new Nick up until that point, and the sleeping with Phyllis kind of ruined it for me. Well, Nick is hanging around the apartment, hanging around Phyllis's apartment afterward, and Kyle decides to stop by. Phyllis hasn't shown up to work. Kyle has some questions for her. So he, of all people, strolls on over to her house, kind of lets himself inside, realizes that she's upstairs with a man, knows that that man isn't Billy. He just saw Billy at the office a second ago, and lets her know that he's aware a little something more is going on here, that there's some mystery man in her upstairs taking a shower. Phyllis should have kicked Nick out of that house way sooner, because I mean, we're leading to a blackmail situation here by Kyle. I don't know why Phyllis even put herself in that situation in the first place. I get that Nick is the father of your child, but I would have been like, no, sorry, bub, no coffee, no shower, no leaving your pants in the middle of the living room floor for someone to find. Just get out. This was a mistake. Just get out. I would have had him gone. Who has, like, naughty, totally shouldn't have done that sex with someone and then hangs out the next day? You get your pants and you get out. And you know it, Chatters. You know it. Phyllis set herself up for this, everything that's going on with Kyle, and it's not going to be pretty. She ends up afterwards going to the office to try to reconcile with Billy. She wants him back. She wants him to move back and to just work it out. But in order for that to happen, Billy would A, have to realize that he has a problem, and B, be committed to fixing it, and he's just not in that place right now. Billy doesn't think he has a problem. He thinks Phyllis has a problem, not accepting him for who he is. Suddenly, to Billy, Phyllis is like this overbearing, unsupportive mom. So he's pushing her away, saying, yeah, well, thanks for the invitation. If I'm gonna come back to live with you, then it's gonna be on my terms. I'm gonna decide. You're not gonna tell me where I am and am not gonna live. Mom! You can't tell me what to do, Mom! So he decides not to move back in with her. He decides to completely give her the cold shoulder. She invited him to Hilary and Devon's wedding. Her best friend is dying, and even though he doesn't know that, he still knows that her best friend is in the hospital, and he chooses not to show up and support her. couldn't help but notice that Jack was standing right there by Phyllis's side, though. Jack was there supporting Phyllis last week, right after she kicked Billy out of the house. Jack seems to be there for her a lot right now. It's all coming out of nowhere, the same way all the storylines are coming out of nowhere right now. But what's going on with Billy? Like, he has spiraled out of control quick. I know that he has a gambling problem, but it's not just that now. He is really becoming a completely different person. He's even crunching numbers, trying to put together this feasibility report to see if he can get rid of the Fenmore's company altogether just to get Phyllis out of the way, I guess? Just more trouble than she's worth? I don't know. I don't get the complete personality change in Billy any more than I really get the complete personality change last week in Nick. Is all of this happening just so that we can get a war going between Billy and Nick? Because Nick finds out about Billy's gambling and he gets all protective of Phyllis and his daughter, Summer. That part makes sense. He even tries to strike up a partnership with Fenmore's. Like, fine, if Jabot is doing this feasibility report and if Billy doesn't want Fenmore's, then maybe Dark Horse will take Fenmore's. But Billy is so wild and out of control at this point. He sucker punches Nick after getting into a verbal altercation at the dive bar, and the two guys start brawling out of nowhere. Oh, Nick handled it. He handled it a little better than Billy, I thought. I don't know, but Nick is really going to hit the roof if Billy ends up sleeping with Summer. In next week's previews, we saw a scene where Summer is suggesting to Billy, she's like leaning back over his desk in a very suggestive way, telling Billy that the best way to get over someone is to get under someone new. Well, I don't know. What Billy needs to get under is an umbrella because all hell is about to rain down on him. I loved that Gloria is onto Billy a little bit. She was going through his expense reports, realizing that not everything's exactly adding up with his numbers and his dates, and he's clearly funneling money away from the company to feed his gambling habit. I can only imagine that Gloria is going to tell Jack, and then Jack is going to tell Ashley. Now, I don't know when Eileen Davidson is going to be leaving the show, when her final air dates are. I would think that Ashley would be well poised to kick Billy out of the company over all of this and have herself appointed as the new CEO. But if Eileen is not going to be on the show that much longer, then I don't exactly see how that's possible. Plus, then on the other hand, we've got Jack, who seems to be starting a new job at Dark Horse. I can't imagine that he's just going to jump back to Jabot, although I'm sure he would love to. Who knows? That's a possibility. I'm kind of thinking that if Ashley's going to be out and Jack is going to be out, then there's only one other person left in line who might be able to take that CEO job away from Billy. Kyle. Oh, Kyle. Can someone wake up Kyle? He's in one of the sleep pods. Let him know that it might be his turn to step up to the plate. I love that Nikki is taking a job at Newman Enterprises. Newman Enterprises is finally becoming a family company again, and it never seemed right that the matriarch of the Newman family was always excluded from the business, as if Nikki wasn't good enough or qualified enough to get down to business when Nick and Victoria didn't have any professional training and they jumped right in. So I love the idea of Nikki having a job. It's great. What concerns me, though, is the fact that Nikki's job is going to be taking over the real estate division of Newman Enterprises, which puts her in direct competition with Nick. And to me, that feels a little bit too much like a classic Victor Newman manipulation tactic, because Victor's offering Nikki this job with the real estate division. And they're talking about it openly in public, knowing that Victor knows that Nick is focusing primarily on real estate with his company, Dark Horse. So this puts Nikki and Nick in direct competition with one another. So Nick overhears this job offer, hears Nikki accepting it, realizes that she's going to be one of his competition. But he doesn't hear Nikki go on to say that she's only taking the job because she is hoping that she can use this to help build up Newman Enterprises, repair the damage that Nick caused, but also try to find a way to repair the family. Like, I think maybe Nikki thinks that if she takes this job, then she can keep the waters smooth in the family, like instead of Victor hiring some shark executive who is going to decide to rip Nick to shreds. I mean, I think Nikki's heart is in the right place. She wants to try to help both sides. It's just too bad that Nick couldn't have stood there and eavesdropped for about 10 seconds longer and heard the good part of the conversation. Just because something's different doesn't mean that it's bad. Sometimes it's better. That was our quote from last week. It was Mariah who said that to Sharon, and I thought it seemed very fitting for the week that sometimes just because something's different doesn't mean it's bad. It can be better. Y&R is very different right now, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. I think we're working on getting better. We'll see. Quite a few of you did guess that that was Mariah, so congratulations, Sherry, Ambreen, Sandra, Nancy, Rose, Jeanne, Henry, and Diana. You guys all guessed that one correctly, and I got a short little a little bite for you this week. Who said this quote? Does it bite? YRChat.com is where you can guess who said, does it bite? I like it. Short little bite of a comment there. If you get it right, then I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. Okay, finally, let's get to some comments from our chatter community. I got a voicemail from Jamie this past week, and she's kind of going through a rough patch in her family and was just reflecting on how nice it is to have Y&R, and I laughed a little bit because she was also reflecting on how her relationship with Y&R has lasted longer than her relationship with most people, and I can completely identify with that. I feel like I was saying last week, I feel like I've known Nick for 25 years. I mean, these are people and situations that I just feel like they've been with me. These characters and their stories have been with me. I carry them. And I think in general, it is kind of nice to have Y&R to escape to, you know, even if it is just 1 hour per day when things are rough. And even if you are tuning in just to cry over a character's death, sometimes it's cathartic. Sometimes Y&R has caused me to just get some tears out that maybe I've been holding back, and it just maybe feels a little better sometimes to cry. So yeah, I mean, in general, I love having Y&R. As an old friend. I think that's one of the special things about soap operas too, because even if you don't watch consistently for 40 years, you can check in and check out and see some of the characters who you've known maybe 10 years ago and see where they are today. It's just such a cool genre that I think doesn't get enough appreciation, but we appreciate it. Jamie and I were appreciating it. And here's a comment from Robbie saying, I hate sad storylines, but I'm absolutely captivated by Hilary's goodbye. This has become such an iconic storyline. I'm a huge Hilary fan, so that must be part of it. For me, the death of Hilary will go down as one of the saddest storylines in Y&R history. Kudos to Michelle Morgan and Brighton James, who have been absolutely brilliant this week. I agree, Robbie. I mean, once again, as I was kind of saying at the top, it's sad that Hilary's character is dying, but it really gave Michelle a chance to dig into something deep and meaningful, and you will remember this storyline for a long, long time to come. It's funny, I remember a deathbed marriage that Malcolm had with Keisha, who had the affair with Nathan Sr. We were kind of talking about that a couple of weeks ago, and that was a deathbed wedding that was very, very touching, and even though I didn't feel a fraction of the amount connected to Keisha as I did to Hilary, that went down as something that always stuck in my mind, and I agree, this one's going to stick with me too. I sure am going to miss Hilary, but they really did a phenomenal job. And Kyle here says, Hilary, Devon, and all the actors involved with this storyline have done a phenomenal job acting this past week. The hospital bedside interactions have been incredibly touching, and I'm not even the biggest Hilary fan. Maybe it's because we were finally shown the kinder, more genuine side of this villain character. It was truly refreshing. See, it's another reason why I think this wasn't an altogether terrible ending for the character of Hilary. You gotta give credit to the fact that it featured not only Hilary and Devon, and you know, we've spent so much focus on Hilary this week, but Devon was excellent. His pain, I was there with him in his pain. But the fact that this was a vehicle for allowing us to have some major, amazing performances by Peter Bergman and Gina Tognoni, and I mean, we're gonna see a lot out of Crystal Khalil. Go ahead and be mad at Lily if you must, but when she was sitting in Devon's office with Kane, holding her face, tears streaming out, feeling like she could not bear to go to that bridal shower, that was a nice little piece of acting. So you gotta appreciate, you know, even if we, you know, we have this emotional reaction to it because it's hard and it's horrible and it feels icky. I didn't want to go through Hilary's death, but I understand and appreciate some of the benefits that it provided to us too, as far as digging in a little deeper and getting us to a point where we could see some more dramatic performances, not just from Michelle, but from her supporting cast. Josie says, Hilary's storyline brought me to tears many times. Did the writers ever tell us what her injuries were exactly? Internal injuries, heart failure, septic shock? She appears to be alert and oriented, so brain injury is out. Help! You know, Josie, this was a little bit of a mystery to me too. The only thing I caught was the fact that Hilary was losing blood. So I'm assuming it's internal bleeding. She had received a blood transfusion, but it was not working because her body was, I guess, having a clotting issue. So I suppose if you're losing blood and then at the same time your body's not processing and clotting that blood appropriately, there would be no fix. I mean, I don't know, it's all BS anyway, but I don't know if they did say an official cause of death. Love. Let's say she was just overwhelmed by love. Oh, no, that would be a bad way to go. Let's see. Diana said, I thought Hilary's wedding dress was very pretty. It was very cute when Hilary said, ditto, after Devon gave his lovely speech. The hospital was decorated nicely. I thought the champagne glasses and wedding rings garland that were hanging in the back were cute and a nice touch. I agree, they did a nice job of decorating the room, and Hilary looked beautiful. You gotta give her that. She looked gorgeous in her dress. The woman could be laying in a hospital bed and she still looked gorgeous. Connor says, Hilary's death was probably one of the hardest so far. Losing one of the leading ladies of the show takes a toll on the storyline with Devon. But where will this leave things? Moving forward, maybe we will shine more of a light on Mariah, as I'm sure the Hilary hour will change. But probably more importantly, we have to keep an eye on the sad but upcoming battle between Devon and Lily. Running that red light will definitely be the trigger that sparks that fight, and maybe Hilary will haunt Lily from beyond. Who knows? Yes, Connor, you're thinking in the direction of like, where are we headed next? Because it really does impact the character of Devon. What does he do next? And the only logical thing, and the thing that we saw a little bit of a preview for next week, is a feud with Lily or some resentment toward Lily. It's not going to be something he's going to be able to just poof, get over. I believe that Devon will eventually learn to forgive his sister. We have to always keep one foot in reality and realize that we're watching a show and that relationship will be repaired eventually, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. I can imagine that Lily is going to be nothing but remorseful over this. I can't imagine I can see Lily probably wanting to continue to punish herself. She's been doing some of that already, and I don't know. I think it's going to take a toll on the brother-sister relationship. It's going to take a toll on the relationship also with Neil. I mean, it's gonna be really hard on them. So next week we're going to be having the funeral service, I imagine. We saw that little preview scene, and there was a big oil painting easel of Hilary in the background. I was like, yes! That's again why I'm saying, if I was a soap opera played a soap opera character and they killed me off, I'd be a little bit happy just to get the big oil painting on an easel for myself and the whole funeral. Like, in a way, that feels complimentary to me. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but I'd be like, kill me and give me the oil painting. But yeah, I don't know how many days that's going to occupy next week, but we're surely going to see that, and an argument between Devon and Lily. So Gina says, I don't think we've seen the last of Hilary. When she had that meeting with that guy, I think maybe that was a little hint that she's gone, but not gone. Whether she comes back as herself or she comes back maybe as a twin. Well, I think, Gina, we do need to keep in mind that there is no scenario that cannot be written around. Just because Hilary is apparently dead doesn't mean they can't bring her back in some way. As Connor just said, it's possible that she will come back and haunt Lily. It's possible she will come back and visit Devon, or even if it's as wild as Gina says and they just decide to do a twin. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Soap Dish, but it's about soap operas and sometimes how they're schmaltzy, shall we say, and beyond incredible. But there was a character they were trying to write back into the show, and the character had been decapitated, and one of the writers, it was Whoopi Goldberg's character, she was like, yeah, so what? Somebody will just say somebody grabbed the head and put it on ice. He's coming back to the show. We can work around it. It's fine. There's nothing we can't do. And I think that is still a little bit of the essence of soap. They can find a workaround if they really want to. So, you know, it's never, dead is never dead. Just remember, Hilary fans, dead is never dead. There's always a way out. Tiffany, switching gears here, says, all right, Allie, so here's a question for you. I've been going back and listening to your old podcasts, currently the one where Katie is born, and you talk about how Billy and Victoria keep finding their way back to each other. And seeing as how Victoria is single now, and with all the horrible stuff that is happening in Billy and Phyllis's relationship, could you see them maybe getting closer again? Would you want to see that happen? Well, Tiffany, that I really hadn't thought about it, but yes, I think you just kind of predicted something that probably is going to happen. Now that you mention it, Billy and Victoria had a very long marriage and relationship. I mean, that lasted quite a long time. They were always circling each other, I mean, for quite a while. So if Billy is separating himself from Phyllis, and we're, by the way, seeing some signs that maybe Phyllis could be in a triangle with Jack and Nick, it's very possible that Billy's going to find his way back to Victoria. She's not seeing anyone right now. She's just been through the ringer, so I can see her falling back maybe into a relationship with someone like Billy, who's the father of her children. I would just need to see Billy recovering before he goes and gets involved with Victoria. I don't think she needs any of his gambling. I mean, it was an interesting dynamic between those two, because Victoria was always the stiff one and Billy was always the silly one. And I mean, talk about it. How can he stand there and say Phyllis is overbearing when he was married to Victoria? Sheesh, how quickly we forget. But anyway, I think it's great that you're going back to listen to old podcasts, because I know that you, Tiffany, were drawn into the show by the Mariah Tessa storyline. So I'm going to take it as a good sign that maybe you're trying to just go back and find some more history about Y&R so that you can really, really appreciate and still get into the show, even though it looks to me like Mariah and Tessa may be no more. On that note, Rose says, I love Mariah. I've cheered for the Mariah and Tessa storyline despite my serious reservations about Tessa, mostly because I want Mariah to have love and be happy. I guess I'm kind of like Sharon in that way. However, by the end of the week, partially because I was emotionally worn out by the sadness, I was glad to see Tessa finally go. I'm just so frustrated by her in and out nonsense. And so when I saw her in next week's preview, I said, no! Yep, I know. I don't want to blame Tessa because I think it's just a function of this quick writing change. Maybe Y&R had intentions of going through with that relationship, but it is a bad look on Tessa. The fact that she left town it really just kind of reinforces any negativity that anyone had about her, and also reinforces Mariah's worst fears. And yet Mariah took it very well, didn't she? She doesn't seem to blame Tessa. She just understood, again, Mariah is capable of this amazing unconditional love. She deserves to get it in return, and maybe Tessa's just not it. It appears to be that way. Again, from that preview of next week, I don't think it's actually Tessa. Although Gary left me a voicemail, he had interpreted next week's preview as seeing Tessa in a very much real capacity. That Gary was saying he thought that was Tessa, and he also had a compelling argument for it too, saying that maybe Mal was bringing back Tessa so soon as the writer's way of testing his character. Maybe Tessa makes the ultimate sacrifice for Mariah and garners the audience to accept them as a couple. I mean, that's totally possible. That had not even occurred to me until you said it. I assumed that Tessa was just gone. I did look online and I didn't see anything about the actress leaving the show, so I think you make a good point that there is still a possibility that she will come back, and they'll find, you know, the writers will find a way to make it okay for her to stay. And as you say, showing Tessa demonstrating love and or sacrifice and making us want them as a couple. You have to make us want them as a couple. That was what I was complaining about last week. It is certainly possible that this is going to be part of that, part of a larger plan of keeping her around. I can't say for sure that I can predict anything with certainty at this point. Anna commenting on Nick and Phyllis here, saying, I can't believe that Nick and Phyllis think they're going to keep this secret. Everybody's going to find out that they slept together. Kyle is going to bring this information up sooner or later. Oh, I just got to pause there, Anna, because maybe Kyle will end up blackmailing Phyllis in exchange for her board vote, in finding a way to de-seat Billy. Like, in the absence of any other Abbotts, the company has to appoint a new CEO, and maybe Kyle will blackmail Phyllis for a vote in his favor there. That would be interesting. But continuing on, Anna was also saying that she would like to see more scenes with Kyle and Gloria. I know, they were great, right? They make a fun little duo. You know me, I love Gloria, but there was just something in in the way they were interacting with each other. It was like two little thieves, kind of. But I like that Gloria is caught on to Billy, and I'd like to see her take a little action on that. But she didn't want to give Kyle very much, and even though he was trying to use his smooth criminal act on her, she wasn't fully biting. Oh, Claudio wanted to leave a comment about our poll question of last week, how you're feeling about the new Nick, new man. Claudio says, I like that Joshua Morrow is having more material to play with, but I think Nick is acting very irrational. I feel like they're setting up Nick to have a massive fall and lose everything. The company, Christian, and Sharon. It's going to be a balancing act, Claudio. I mean, he is going to have to really be careful here. Nick is in a precarious situation any way you slice it. We'll just have to see. Justin says, this is so inconsistent to who Nick is. Ever since Mal Young took over Y&R, several characters have been written inconsistently, such as Kyle and Summer, even Phyllis was inconsistent. She told Devon that Hilary should know the entire truth about her condition. That bothered me because it was barely a few months ago that Phyllis was trying to convince Sharon that Nick should not know that Christian is his son. Mal Young needs to do his character research before he writes new storylines. Well, Justin, I think that, I do agree with that to some extent. I think we are seeing signs that Mal really likes plot. Mal likes a story, but I don't know that he loves his characters as much as he loves the action. I mean, all things being equal, in a couple of weeks, I think it could shake out into some very interesting things. I mean, I suppose characters can't really, you know, can't stay the same forever, I suppose, but the fact that it's all so jarring is what works against Mal and the character writing. I mean, if a character changes over time, that makes sense and that's believable, but the fact that everyone has just picked up new personalities this week, Nick, Billy especially, it's a little bit too much, and I will agree with your criticism of him there. Mary Ann gave me a little piece of casting news here saying that the actor who plays Arturo has just signed a contract with Y&R. So there we go. Maybe he's going to stick around and have that long-term relationship with Abby after all. Mary Ann also read that the actor who recently played Dario on Days of Our Lives will join Y&R as Ray, a mystery man. Mary Ann says he was very good on Days. Well, that's interesting too. I mean, Y&R does tend to do this. They kind of get rid of old at the same time that they're bringing in new. So we're keeping Arturo apparently, and we're getting a new mystery man. I need to look this guy up, Dario. I haven't seen him, so we'll have to do a little bit of further research on that. Hopefully he's good looking. I'm always up for a new hunk. Okay, my Y&R friends, here's hoping that next week is a little bit easier to get through. I mean, a funeral isn't going to be easy, but not having to cry every day might be a nice change of pace. YRChat.com is our website. If you want to go there and leave some comments for me about this Y&R chat, about the show in general, or even just about Y&R as you're watching each episode. There's always a good conversation going on there. Lots of screen caps. We always have the games and stuff going on too. So YRChat.com, and I will be back next week with another video/podcast. I love you guys, and I will see you then. Bye!